Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. I'm going to do your November the 14th Spiritual Principle Day in a meditation. Hope you're doing well this morning. I'm doing much better now that I found the key that turns the display up so that I can see it well enough. I was struggling there. The title of today's meditation, Living Lives Worthy of Self-Respect. As we clean up our wreckage and live differently, we can respect our actions and find respect for ourselves in the process. Living Clean, Chapter 2, Connection to Ourselves. Many of the stories we tell about our active addiction depict us thriving on our lack of respectability. Who needs a real job, an education, a place to live, or even a bath? We scoffed at others' boundaries, the rule of law, authority, and institutions. We turned our backs on many of the values we were taught by our families, cultures, and society. Hiding all our fears behind bravado, a lot of us paid a steep price. We jeopardized relationships and careers. If we hadn't, in many cases, we lost our freedom. Did we lose our self-respect too? Or did we just have none to start with? When we get clean, the rebel in us may be tempted to dismiss meeting etiquette as an attempt to make us conform. At some point, most of us notice that being a rebel in NA doesn't have the payoff it did on the streets. We don't gain credibility by being disrespectful. I thought I was a bad A, but came to find out that it was just a front to protect myself, one member shared. Once we started to listen in meetings, get to work on steps, and are of service, we find ourselves inspired to loosen our grip on our past lifestyles and the version of ourselves in the stories we tell. We want to move on from the past, and our willingness to understand it and grow from it increases. We take actions that build our lives and help other people. We set boundaries for ourselves and respect those held by others. Our dignity and self-respect are being restored, like our sanity. Perhaps for some of us, this is the first time we have experienced these feelings or this state of being in our lives. Not only do we change our actions, but many of us find we have to alter the stories we tell about ourselves. We focus less on being the product of our wreckage and more on being the product of our recovery. We learn that we are worthy of the lives we have now. We begin to live a life that reflects values we can be proud of. That's pretty respectable. And before recovery, who knew we'd ever want that? Today, I'll step back for a moment and look at the life I'm building with some pride and self-respect. It's working, and I'm worthy of it. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you, God. Grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Powerful, powerful, powerful meditation. Living lives worthy of self-respect. Changing the way we talk about ourselves, the way that we view ourselves. Being able to say, you know what, MightyStream, you may have been a product of your using, right? A product of the wreckage of your past, but you're also in a position today to say I have recovery. I'm a product more of that today. I was in a meeting the other day and I was sharing about making an amends and how making my amends to people oftentimes is determined upon the level of damage that I've actually created. Paying my mother back $100 is not an amends to her. Changing the way that I live and getting out here and being a productive member of society, her not worrying about where I'm at night or having to take my keys so I don't drive drunk, that is an amends for her. There's no amount of money I could give her, even though I've wasted all of hers, right? So today, the life that I live is based on my recovery. Do I keep the door cracked and look back occasionally at the things I've done? Absolutely. But I use a small portion of that story. I don't glamorize it. I use a small portion of it to prop up the next comment, which is that I found Narcotics Anonymous and it changed my life. That's how I use my past. I use it to prop up. And if I'm going to share for 5 minutes, the story about the past is only going to take me about 30 seconds to a minute. It doesn't take all day. It depends on how long I'm sharing for. I don't glamorize the past. And when I get to Narcotics Anonymous and I start to live a life of recovery, I find that I change. I find that my opinion about the law, my opinion about higher education, my opinion about actually paying the mortgage or paying rent on time, my opinion about keeping a job and working a real job, not that kind of under the table type job. I'm talking about where at the end of the year, I know that I'm going to have some taxes to pay, right? That is part of my recovery. I get to live a life worth living. I get to live a life that tells a whole different story, that's full of different values. I become credible. People trust me to do whatever they've asked me to do or whatever I said that I'm going to do. That's an opportunity for all of us. So if you're not experiencing that, I don't want you beating up on yourself, right? If you're not experiencing that, a lot of times it's just a paradigm shift of how we view things, how we view ourselves, how we view the society. Oh, okay. Etiquette? What? I'm used to going into places, doing what I want to do, and tell them, "You kiss my behind when I leave." No, we're not doing that today. But it comes one day at a time. So if you're not there, I don't want you beating up on yourself, but I want to say to you, Narcotics Anonymous is a spiritual program, not religious. And let's start doing the work so that you can develop in a manner that is going to change the way you tell your story about your past. My name is MightyStream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that you have a beautiful day on purpose.